The crystal towers of Zenthera Prime stretched high into the purple sky, their surfaces gleaming with the light of 3 suns. Inside the largest tower, beings from across the galaxy gathered in the council chamber. The room was vast, with floating platforms for each species to sit comfortably. Admiral Zexthul of the Vorthak floated above his platform, his tentacles moving slowly in the artificial atmosphere. His large black eyes scanned the other council members. The energy beings called Luminari glowed softly near the ceiling. The insect-like Kreks clicked their mandibles as they discussed strategy through their hive mind connection. Fellow council members, Zexthul's voice echoed through the chamber, speaking directly into their minds through telepathy. We face a new problem. The creatures called humans have spread beyond their homeworld. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed star maps with small red dots marking human colonies. The red dots had grown from 1 to 17 over just a few decades. These bipeds are primitive, continued Zexthul. They have no telepathic abilities. They cannot manipulate energy like the Luminari. They do not share a collective consciousness like the Kreks. Yet they continue to expand into space that belongs to civilized species. Counselor Vexara of the Luminari pulsed brighter. Her voice was like music made of light. What technology do they possess? Surely nothing that threatens us. The hologram changed to show human spaceships. They looked crude compared to the sleek vessels of the galactic powers. Thick metal hulls, visible exhaust flames, and weapon systems that appeared to shoot simple projectiles. Chemical rockets evolved into fusion drives, Zexthul explained. Their weapons are kinetic projectiles and primitive explosives. Some nuclear devices. Nothing we have not seen from 1,000 other young species. The Kreks representative, speaking for their entire hive, made a series of clicking sounds that translated as laughter. These humans remind us of the Zelani from the Outer Rim. They also thought they could challenge the galaxy with primitive technology. We pacified them in 3 days. Other council members murmured agreement. The crystalline architects showed approval by changing their crystal formations. The gaseous nebuloids swirled faster in their containment fields. Even the machine intelligence known as Logic Prime processed the data and concluded the humans were not a threat. What do we know of their society? Asked Zexthul. A new hologram showed human cities, human faces, human activities. The beings in the chamber found the images strange and somewhat disturbing. They are violent creatures, Vexara observed. Our long-range sensors show they fight among themselves constantly. Their history is filled with wars, conflicts, and destruction. Typical of primitive species, agreed the Kreks. They have not learned to live in harmony like civilized beings. They divide themselves into groups called nations. Zexthul continued reading from the report. These nations compete for resources and territory. They have weapons designed to kill their own kind. Most disturbing, they seem to enjoy stories and entertainment about warfare and conflict. Logic Prime's mechanical voice added to the discussion. Statistical analysis shows 73.6% of human entertainment involves some form of conflict resolution through violence. This is 340% higher than the galactic average for developing species. Barbarians, concluded one of the crystalline architects, no different from any other warlike species we have encountered. The council spent hours reviewing human technology, society, and expansion patterns. Everything confirmed their initial assessment. Humans were a young, violent species with inferior technology. They posed no real threat to galactic civilization. The standard protocol should suffice, declared Zexthul. We will issue a compliance ultimatum. They have 30 galactic standard days to abandon all colonies and return to their origin world. If they refuse, we will apply corrective military action. How large a fleet should we prepare? Asked the Kreks representative. 40 ships should be sufficient, Zexthul replied. Admiral Krextall of the Enforcement Division can handle such a simple task. These humans will see our superior technology and surrender immediately, just like all the others. The vote was unanimous. No species in galactic history had ever seriously resisted the Council's ultimatums. A few had made token gestures of defiance, but all had eventually surrendered when faced with the overwhelming technological superiority of civilized space. As the council session ended and the various species departed for their homeworlds, none of them noticed the small listening devices hidden throughout their chamber. Devices so primitive they used radio waves instead of quantum entanglement, making them invisible to advanced detection systems. Far away, in a system the galactic maps marked as Sol, those radio signals were being received by massive dish antennas on a planet called Earth. In underground facilities built beneath mountains, human technicians recorded every word of the council meeting. The humans had been listening to galactic communications for over 200 years. They had learned the major languages, studied the political systems, and mapped the military capabilities of every known species. When humanity finally achieved faster-than-light travel, they had done so quietly, carefully, ensuring that their early colonies appeared primitive and non-threatening. In the deepest levels of Cheyenne Mountain, General Sarah Chen stood before a wall covered in star charts, technological specifications, and alien physiological data. Around her, the greatest military minds in human history worked at computer terminals, analyzing the latest intelligence from Xanthera Prime. "Did you get all of that, Commander Torres?" Chen asked. "Every word, General," replied the intelligence officer. "The Council has voted to send Admiral Krextal with 40 ships. Standard enforcement protocol. They expect us to surrender immediately." General Chen smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. 40 ships. Admiral Krextal, the same admiral who pacified the Zilani in 3 days. "Yes, ma'am. Should we begin the evacuation of New Geneva?" "Already in progress. Every civilian will be off-world within 72 hours. Make sure we leave the automated defense systems active. And remember, those defenses need to look desperate but primitive." She turned to another officer. "Colonel Park, status on the Mars shipyards." "Construction proceeds on schedule, General. The Retribution will be ready for deployment in 26 days. Her sister ships are 3 weeks behind." "And the special project in the asteroid belt?" "Project Damocles is ahead of schedule, ma'am. The aliens have no idea what's waiting for them." General Chen looked back at the star chart showing human space. To alien eyes, it appeared to be 17 scattered colonies connected by primitive trade routes. The reality was very different. Those colonies were connected by a military communication network that operated faster than any known galactic technology. Each colony had been carefully positioned to support the others in case of attack. The humans had spent centuries preparing for this moment. Every aspect of their expansion into space had been planned with warfare in mind. They had studied every major galactic conflict in recorded history, analyzed every tactical innovation, and learned from every strategic mistake. Most importantly, they had learned something the galactic powers had forgotten: how to fight a war against an equal opponent. The various alien species had grown comfortable fighting primitive worlds that surrendered quickly when faced with superior technology. They had not fought a real war in centuries. Humanity had been fighting real wars for thousands of years, against themselves. "Send the message to all sectors," General Chen commanded. "Operation Mankind's Answer is now active. The galaxy is about to learn why humans study war." As her staff carried out the orders, General Chen permitted herself one more smile. The Galactic Council thought they were dealing with primitive barbarians. They were about to discover that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology. It was their willingness to use it. Admiral Krextal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Harmonious Victory. Through the viewing port, he could see the rest of his enforcement fleet, 40 of the galaxy's finest warships. Each one represented technology that was centuries ahead of anything these primitive humans could build. The Vorthak vessels could phase through solid matter when needed. The Luminari ships could become pure energy to avoid damage. The Krex dreadnoughts had weapons that could bend gravity itself. Even the smallest escort ship in his fleet could destroy an entire human city with a single shot. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, a young Vorthak named Lexmoth, "we are approaching the human colony world designated as New Geneva. Long-range sensors detect minimal activity." "Show me," Krextal ordered. The main screen displayed the human colony from orbit. It looked exactly as primitive as expected. Simple buildings made of metal and concrete. Basic landing pads for their crude spacecraft. No sign of advanced defenses or sophisticated technology. "Any response to our arrival?" asked Krextal. "Negative, sir. No communication attempts. No military vessels launching to intercept us. The humans appear to be ignoring us." This puzzled Krextal. Most species at least tried to communicate when faced with a galactic enforcement fleet. Even the most primitive worlds usually sent some kind of message, either begging for mercy or making threats they could not back up. "Perhaps they do not understand what they are seeing," suggested Lexmoth. Their sensors may not be advanced enough to detect our ships properly. Open a communication channel, Krextal ordered. Let us educate them. The communication system activated, broadcasting on all human frequencies. Krextal composed his thoughts and sent them directly into any human minds in range. As was customary, nothing happened. Sir, they are not responding to telepathic contact, reported the communications officer. Of course not, Krextal remembered. These creatures lack telepathic abilities. Try primitive radio transmissions. The message was simple and direct. This is Admiral Krextal of the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet. You are in violation of galactic expansion protocols. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. The response came 15 minutes later. A single transmission from the planet's surface. The voice was calm, almost cheerful. Greetings, Admiral. This is Colony Administrator Johnson. Thank you for coming all this way. Humanity formally rejects your ultimatum and chooses to exercise our right to exist. We have evacuated all civilians to safety as a courtesy. Please proceed with whatever demonstration you feel is necessary. We will be watching and learning. The transmission ended. Krextal stared at the communication screen in disbelief. Did they just thank us for coming? It appears so, sir, Lexmoth replied, equally confused. And they said they evacuated civilians? Why would they do that if they planned to surrender? Unknown, Admiral. Should we attempt further communication? Krextal considered this. In his 300 years of service, he had never encountered such a response. The humans seemed almost eager for him to attack their colony. It made no sense. Sir, the tactical officer interrupted. We are detecting movement on the planet's surface. The humans appear to be activating some kind of defensive systems. The main screen showed small installations rising from hidden positions around the colony. They looked like weapon platforms, but incredibly primitive. Simple missile launchers and kinetic projectiles. Nothing that could threaten his advanced fleet. How quaint, Krextal observed. They mean to resist with those toys. Very well, commence orbital bombardment. Target their defensive positions first, then their infrastructure. Leave the residential areas intact for now. Perhaps when they see our power, they will reconsider. His fleet moved into attack formation. Energy weapons charged, gravity manipulators aligned, and phase cannons prepared to fire. Against any civilized opponent, this would be overkill. Against primitive humans, it was like using a star destroyer to hunt insects. The first exchange of fire lit up the space around New Geneva. Alien energy beams struck the human defensive platforms, destroying several immediately. Gravity warheads created localized space distortions that crushed human installations. It should have been over in minutes, but the humans kept firing back. Their weapons were primitive, but they used them cleverly. Kinetic rounds targeted specific weak points on alien ships. Nuclear missiles exploded in carefully calculated patterns to maximize electromagnetic interference. Most surprising of all, the human weapons seemed to adapt during the battle. Sir, Lexmoth reported, sounding concerned. The humans are adjusting their targeting patterns. Their accuracy is improving. Impossible, Krextal replied. They cannot learn our technology that quickly. But the evidence was clear on his screens. The human defensive systems were analyzing his fleet's movements and weapon signatures. Their return fire became more effective with each exchange. Several of his escort ships reported minor damage. This is taking too long, Krextal decided. Bring us closer. Use our superior firepower to end this quickly. As his fleet moved into closer range, something strange happened. Small objects detached from the planet's surface and drifted toward the alien ships. They looked like debris or damaged satellites. Admiral, the sensor officer called out. We have multiple small contacts approaching our vessels. They appear to be inactive wreckage. Ignore them, Krextal ordered. Focus on destroying the remaining defenses. The small objects drifted past his ship, seemingly harmless. Several actually made contact with alien hulls, bouncing off like space debris. Krextal paid them no attention. His focus was on demonstrating galactic superiority to these stubborn humans. Within an hour, the last human defensive platform was destroyed. The colony lay in ruins, its buildings shattered and its landing pads melted into slag. It was a perfect demonstration of what happened when primitive species challenged galactic authority. Broadcast another message, Krextal ordered. Tell them this is what resistance brings. They have seen our power. Now they will surrender. But when the communication channel opened, the human response was not what he expected. Thank you for the demonstration, Admiral. Very impressive. You fought exactly as our tacticians predicted you would. We have recorded detailed information about your weapons, tactics, and ship capabilities. This data will be very useful. Krextal felt something cold settle in his stomach. What do you mean, recorded? Those small objects that drifted past your ships during the battle? Sensor platforms. They attach to your hulls and have been broadcasting everything back to our command centers. We now have complete technical specifications for your entire fleet. The Admiral spun toward his sensor officer. Confirm this. Are there objects attached to our ships? After a few tense minutes of scanning, the answer came back. Yes, sir. Multiple small devices are magnetically attached to our hulls. They appear to be transmitting data. Remove them immediately. Sir, they are too small and too numerous, and they seem to be hardened against our standard countermeasures. On the communication channel, the human voice continued, still calm and almost friendly. You should probably return to your superiors now, Admiral. Tell them that humanity has received their message and chosen our response. We will see you again soon. The transmission ended, leaving Krextal staring at empty space where a human colony had once stood. He had achieved his objective. The colony was destroyed, the humans defeated. So why did he feel like he had just made a terrible mistake? Set course for Xanthera Prime, he ordered. Maximum speed. As his fleet departed the New Geneva system, none of them noticed the small, stealthed observation post hidden in the asteroid field. Inside, human technicians smiled as they watched the alien ships leave. Every detail of the battle had been recorded and was already being transmitted back to Earth. In the deepest levels of Cheyenne Mountain, General Chen reviewed the battle data with satisfaction. The aliens had performed exactly as predicted. Their tactics were sophisticated but predictable. Their technology was advanced but could be countered. Most importantly, they had no idea what was really coming. Colonel Park, she called out, accelerate the construction schedule. I want the retribution ready in 20 days instead of 26. Yes, ma'am. Any other orders? General Chen smiled as she watched the alien fleet retreat on her screens. Send a message to all human colonies. Operation Mankind's Answer proceeds to Phase 2. The galaxy is about to meet humanity's real military. Admiral Krextal stood before the Galactic Council, his tentacles trembling slightly as he delivered his report. The crystal chamber felt colder than usual, and the other council members listened with growing concern. The human colony has been destroyed, he concluded. However, the engagement revealed several unexpected aspects of human technology and tactics. Zexthal's large black eyes focused intently on the Admiral. Explain these unexpected aspects. Their defensive systems adapted during combat. Their weapons, while primitive, were used with remarkable precision. Most concerning, they managed to attach monitoring devices to our ships without our knowledge. A wave of telepathic murmurs swept through the chamber. The idea that primitives could spy on galactic technology was disturbing. What did these devices record? Asked Vexera, her energy form pulsing with agitation. Everything, Krextal admitted. Our weapon signatures, shield frequencies, tactical formations. By the end of the engagement, they possessed complete technical data on my entire fleet. The crystalline architect's formation shifted into patterns that expressed alarm. Logic Prime's mechanical voice cut through the concerned chatter. Statistical analysis indicates this was not accidental. The humans deliberately sacrificed their colony to gather intelligence on our capabilities. Impossible, declared the Krex representative. No species would sacrifice an entire colony for mere information. But even as the words were spoken, new alerts began flooding into the chamber. Long-range sensor stations throughout the galaxy reported massive energy signatures from the inner human systems. Something huge was moving through space toward the galactic border. Show us, Zexthal demanded. The holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. At first it showed nothing but empty space. Then the sensors adjusted and a massive shape became visible. The ship was enormous, 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapon systems and armor plating. It moved with purpose through space, escorted by smaller vessels that still dwarfed most galactic warships. By the ancient crystals, whispered one of the architects. What is that thing? According to human transmissions we have intercepted, reported Logic Prime. They call it the UES Retribution. One ship, scoffed the Krex representative, though uncertainty crept into the hive mind voice. Regardless of size, one ship cannot threaten our entire civilization. But Zexthal was studying the tactical data more carefully. Admiral Krextal, take your fleet and intercept this vessel. Destroy it before it can threaten any civilized worlds. Sir, Krextal hesitated. Perhaps we should consider a larger force. The humans have already demonstrated unexpected capabilities. Nonsense. Your 40 ships represent the finest technology in the galaxy. One human vessel, no matter how large, cannot stand against such power. Destroy it and end this matter. Krextal saluted reluctantly and departed to carry out his orders. As his fleet moved to intercept the human battleship, the council members settled in to observe what they expected would be a brief demonstration of galactic superiority. 3 days later, the fleets met in open space near the galactic border. Krextal positioned his ships in a standard engagement formation, energy weapons charged and ready. The massive human ship approached alone, its escort vessels holding back at a safe distance. "This is Admiral Krextal of the Galactic Enforcement Fleet," he broadcast. "Surrender immediately or be destroyed." The human response came quickly. "This is Captain Sarah Martinez of the UES Retribution. We decline your generous offer. Please proceed." The battle began with a coordinated strike from all 40 alien ships. Energy beams, gravity weapons, and exotic matter projectiles all targeted the human battleship simultaneously. The attack was overwhelming, designed to vaporize any known vessel in seconds. The Retribution's shields flared and failed under the assault. Her thick armor showed visible damage from the gravity warheads. Atmosphere vented from several hull breaches. By all appearances, the human ship was critically damaged and should have been destroyed. Instead, something incredible happened. The massive vessel accelerated directly toward the galactic formation, her engines burning at maximum power despite the damage. She was charging into close combat range. "Impossible," Krextal exclaimed. "Their crew should be dead. How are they still maneuvering?" The answer came as the Retribution closed to knife-fighting range. Her hull split open to reveal launch bays and hundreds of small craft poured out. But these were not normal fighters. They were assault shuttles filled with human soldiers in powered armor. "They mean to board us," Lexmoth reported in shock. "Admiral, they are actually trying to board our ships." No civilized species had attempted boarding actions in centuries. It was considered barbaric, inefficient, and suicidal against advanced technology. The idea of leaving the safety of one's ship to fight inside another vessel was unthinkable. But the humans seemed to find it perfectly natural. The first assault, shuttles punched through the hulls of alien escort ships, their kinetic impact alone causing massive damage. Human Marines poured out, fighting in environments that should have killed them instantly. They wore armor that protected them from vacuum, radiation, and energy weapons. They carried weapons designed for close combat in zero gravity. Most shocking of all, they seemed to be enjoying themselves. "Boarding Party Alpha has secured the bridge of the Vorthak cruiser," reported one of the human voices on open frequencies. "Their technology is even more advanced than we expected. This is like Christmas morning." "Beta Squad has taken the engine room of the Krex battleship," came another report. "These gravity generators are fascinating. Can we take one apart?" The galactic crews, bred for civilized warfare at long range, found themselves helpless against opponents who thrived in chaos. Human soldiers fought through corridors filled with toxic atmosphere, in gravity fields that changed without warning, against weapons that should have disintegrated them. But the humans kept coming. Worse, they were learning. Each captured alien device was immediately studied, analyzed, and understood. Human engineers worked alongside soldiers to reverse engineer galactic technology in real time. Within hours, some human weapons had been upgraded with captured alien components. Admiral Krextal watched in horror as his fleet was systematically torn apart. Not destroyed, captured. The humans were taking his ships intact along with all their technology and databases. "All units," he broadcast desperately, "initiate self-destruct sequences. Do not let the humans capture our technology." But it was too late. Human soldiers had already reached the critical systems on most ships. They had studied galactic computer systems during their centuries of preparation and knew exactly how to prevent self-destruction. The battle ended 6 hours after it began. Of the 40 ships in Krextal's fleet, 37 had been captured intact. The remaining 3 had been destroyed, but only after human salvage teams had stripped them of useful components. The Retribution herself had taken massive damage, but remained functional. Her crew worked frantically to repair systems while human engineers studied the captured alien technology. Already they were designing improvements. "This is Captain Martinez," came the human broadcast to the galaxy at large. "We have received the Galactic Council's message loud and clear. Humanity's response will follow shortly. We suggest you prepare accordingly." Back in the crystal chamber on Xanthera Prime, the council members sat in stunned silence. The footage from the battle played on repeat, showing human soldiers fighting in conditions that would kill any civilized being, capturing ships with technology centuries ahead of their own. "How?" whispered Vexara. "How did they survive our weapons? How did they adapt so quickly?" Logic Prime provided the analysis that chilled everyone present, cross-referencing human physiology and psychology with battle data. Conclusion: humans are not a civilized species. They are apex predators who have evolved to fight and survive in extreme conditions. Their primitive nature is actually an advantage in warfare. Zexthol's tentacles writhed in distress. "What do you mean?" "They do not rely on advanced technology for survival because they have evolved to survive without it. They can function in environments that would kill us. They adapt to new situations because their species has been fighting for survival for millions of years. Most importantly, they view warfare not as a political tool, but as a natural part of existence." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They had not been dealing with a primitive species that would surrender when faced with superior technology. They had been dealing with a species of warriors who viewed their technological superiority as simply another challenge to overcome. "Send word to all member worlds," Zexthol commanded, his mental voice heavy with dread. "Mobilize the Grand Fleet, all 300 ships. We are not dealing with primitives. We are dealing with something far worse." "What is worse than primitives?" asked the Krex representative. Zexthol looked at the image of the damaged but victorious human battleship on his screen. "Primitives who learn." The Grand Fleet of the Galactic Council assembled at Xanthera Prime like nothing seen in the galaxy for 1,000 years. 300 warships from every member species filled the space around the crystal world. Their combined firepower enough to sterilize entire star systems. Admiral Zexthul commanded from the bridge of his new flagship, the Infinite Harmony, a massive vessel that incorporated the best technology from all galactic civilizations. Surrounding him were the finest military minds in known space, all focused on solving the human problem. "Status report," Zexthul commanded. "All fleets report ready for departure," replied his new tactical officer. "The Vorthak Psi Corps have prepared mental barriers to prevent human psychological warfare. The Luminari have charged their reality-bending weapons to maximum power. The Krex have brought their most advanced gravity manipulators. Even the rarely seen Voidwalkers have contributed stealth technology." "And our intelligence on the human fleet?" "Limited, sir. Long-range sensors detect multiple large vessels at the edge of human space, but their exact capabilities remain unknown. We estimate 20 to 30 ships of similar size to the Retribution." Zexthol nodded grimly. The humans had used the 3 weeks since their victory to good effect. Captured galactic technology had been reverse-engineered and improved with disturbing speed. Reports suggested the human ships now incorporated the best features of every galactic military design. Remember, he addressed his fleet commanders through the telepathic network. "These humans are not civilized opponents. They fight like wild animals. They use boarding tactics that no rational species would attempt. Most importantly, they learn from every engagement. We must end this quickly and decisively." The Grand Fleet departed Xanthera Prime and began the journey to human space. As they traveled, intelligence reports continued to arrive. The humans had not been idle during the past weeks. "Sir," reported the intelligence officer, "we are receiving disturbing transmissions from the human colonies. They appear to be celebrating. Celebrating what?" "The approach of our fleet, sir. Human broadcasts speak of this as their graduation day and reference something called the final exam. They seem excited about our arrival." This news troubled Zexthul deeply. No species had ever celebrated the approach of the Grand Fleet. Even the most warlike civilizations had shown proper fear when faced with such overwhelming force. "Perhaps they do not understand what they face," suggested one of his advisors, but Zexthul suspected otherwise. The humans had already demonstrated their ability to gather and analyze intelligence. They knew exactly what was coming. Their celebration meant something far more ominous. After 6 days of travel, the Grand Fleet reached the edge of human space. What they found waiting for them defied all expectations. The human fleet was arranged in a defensive formation around a small moon, but it was not the 20 or 30 ships intelligence had predicted. There were 67 human vessels, each one larger and more heavily armed than the Retribution. They hung in space like predators waiting for prey, their dark hulls bristling with weapons both familiar and unknown. "Impossible," whispered one of the crystalline architects. "How did they build so many ships so quickly?" The answer came from Logic Prime's analysis. The humans appear to have converted their entire industrial capacity to military production. Every civilian facility, every mining operation, every manufacturing center has been repurposed for war. An entire species mobilized for warfare, Zexthul mused. How do they feed themselves? How do they maintain their society? Unknown, sir. But analysis of their transmissions suggests they view this as natural. One intercepted message referenced total war doctrine and stated that the entire human race has been waiting for this moment. As the fleets faced each other across the void, the human admiral opened communication channels. The voice that came through was calm and professional, but underneath it was something that made even veteran galactic warriors uncomfortable. "This is Admiral Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. Welcome to our space. We have been expecting you. Before we begin, I want to thank you for the learning opportunity you provided at New Geneva and during Admiral Krextel's defeat. Your technology has been most educational." "This is Admiral Zexthul of the Galactic Council," he replied. "You are outgunned and outnumbered 5-1. Surrender now and we will spare your civilian populations." Chen's laugh was genuinely amused. "Admiral, I think there may be some confusion about the tactical situation. You see, your fleet represents the finest military technology in the galaxy. Our fleet represents something you have never encountered before. Human military technology enhanced with galactic science and guided by human military doctrine." "What is the difference?" "You are about to find out. All human vessels commence Operation Armageddon." The battle that followed became known throughout the galaxy as the Massacre of Kepler's Star. It began with the humans doing something no civilized military would consider. They charged. All 67 human ships accelerated at maximum power directly toward the galactic formation. No attempt at long-range combat, no sophisticated maneuvering, no civilized exchange of fire. They came straight at the Grand Fleet like ancient cavalry charging into battle. "All ships open fire," Zexthul commanded. "Destroy them before they reach us." The combined firepower of 300 advanced warships focused on the approaching human fleet. Energy weapons, gravity bombs, reality warping devices, and exotic matter projectiles filled space with destructive force. Several human ships took heavy damage, their armor glowing red-hot from impacts, but they kept coming. As the range closed, the true horror of human military doctrine became apparent. The damaged human ships did not retreat for repairs. Instead, they aimed themselves at specific galactic vessels and accelerated harder, turning themselves into massive kinetic weapons. "They are ramming us," screamed one of the fleet commanders. "The damaged ships are ramming us." The UHS Defiance, her hull cracked and atmosphere venting, slammed into the Vorthak flagship at relativistic speed. The impact vaporized both vessels in a flash of nuclear fire. The UHS Vengeance, her weapon systems destroyed but engines intact, drove herself into the center of a Krex formation, her reactor detonating and taking 4 enemy ships with her. But the undamaged human vessels used the chaos to close to their preferred fighting range, and at close range human doctrine became truly terrifying. Boarding parties away, came the call from dozens of human ships simultaneously. Thousands of assault shuttles launched from the human fleet, but these were not the crude craft used at the first battle. These shuttles incorporated captured galactic technology, making them faster, tougher, and deadlier than anything the galaxy had faced. More horrifying still, the human marines inside these shuttles had been enhanced. Genetic modification, cybernetic implants, and powered armor that incorporated the best galactic defensive technology. They were no longer entirely human, but they retained humanity's most dangerous trait, the desire to fight. "Sir," reported a panicked communications officer, "we are receiving combat reports from throughout the fleet. Human soldiers are boarding our ships, but they are not attempting to capture them. They are sabotaging critical systems and then moving to the next target." Zexthul realized with growing horror that the humans had learned from their previous victory. Instead of trying to capture galactic ships, they were destroying them from within, while their squad mates provided covering fire from captured positions. Worse yet, different human units were employing different tactics against different species. Against the telepathic Vorthak, human soldiers used some kind of mental shielding that blocked psychic attacks. Against the energy-based Luminari, they deployed weapons that disrupted the aliens' coherent patterns. Against the hive-minded Kreks, they targeted the queen forms with disturbing precision. "How do they know our weaknesses so precisely?" demanded one of the surviving fleet commanders. The answer came from Logic Prime, whose analysis continued even as battle raged around them. "The humans have been studying our species for centuries. They know our biology, our psychology, our military doctrine. They have prepared specific countermeasures for each of our races." Centuries? But we only discovered them recently. Correction, they only revealed themselves to us recently. Evidence suggests they have been monitoring our communications and analyzing our society since their early industrial period. This entire conflict is not a war to them. It is a final examination. As the battle continued, more disturbing patterns emerged. Human ships moved in formations that seemed designed to counter specific galactic tactics. Their weapons targeted systems in sequences that caused maximum disruption with minimal effort. Most unsettling of all, human soldiers seemed to anticipate alien responses before they happened. "They are not reacting to our moves," observed the Kreks representative. "They are predicting them." The truth was even worse than prediction. The humans had spent decades studying recordings of every major galactic military engagement. They had analyzed the tactical preferences of each species, identified common patterns, and prepared responses in advance. To the human military mind, this was not a first contact situation. This was the practical application of centuries of study. After 8 hours of combat, Admiral Zexthul looked at his tactical display and felt something no galactic. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Of the 12 founding species, only 8 were represented. The crystalline architects had gone silent after their homeworld stopped responding to communications. The Void Walkers had simply vanished, their space-bending technology apparently turned toward hiding rather than fighting. Logic Prime attended remotely, its main processing centers having been relocated to an undisclosed location. Admiral Zexthul stood before the remaining council members, his tentacles drooping with exhaustion and defeat. The battle reports from Kepler's star had been transmitted throughout galactic space, and panic was spreading across 1,000 worlds. "Report," commanded what remained of the council leadership. "The Grand Fleet has been destroyed," Zexthul stated simply. 91 ships survived out of 300. The human fleet withdrew after achieving tactical superiority, but they made it clear this was not their full strength. "Impossible," whispered Vexara, though her energy form flickered with uncertainty. 300 ships, the finest technology in the galaxy, was insufficient, Zexthul completed. "The humans fought with tactics we have never encountered. They combined our captured technology with their own innovations and strategic thinking. Most concerning, they displayed detailed knowledge of our weaknesses, all of our weaknesses." The Kreks representative, speaking for a hive mind still reeling from the loss of 3 queenships, asked, "How detailed?" "They knew exactly which weapons to use against each species. They targeted our psychological vulnerabilities as precisely as our technological ones. The attack on the Vorthak ships included mental warfare techniques. The assault on Kreks vessels specifically targeted hive communication nodes. They fought each of us differently because they understood each of us completely." Logic Prime's mechanical voice added grim confirmation. "Analysis of intercepted human communications reveals extensive files on every galactic species. Physiological data, psychological profiles, technological specifications, cultural weaknesses. The humans have been studying us for approximately 237 Earth years. 2 centuries?" The remaining council members exchanged looks of growing horror. "They have been watching us for 2 centuries?" "Correct." Cross-referencing human technological development with galactic communication patterns indicates they achieved radio reception capability in their year 1887. They have been intercepting and analyzing our transmissions since that time. Everything we said, every strategic discussion, Every technological innovation has been recorded and studied by human military analysts. The implications settled over the chamber like a death shroud. Every tactical discussion, every technological breakthrough, every strategic weakness had been transmitted openly across galactic communication networks for centuries. The humans had been taking notes. "Sir," interrupted a communications officer, "we are receiving a priority transmission from the Sol system. It is addressed to all galactic governments simultaneously." "Put it through," Zexthul ordered. The image that appeared in the chamber was of a human female in military uniform, standing on what appeared to be the bridge of a massive starship. Behind her, through viewing ports, stretched a fleet that defied comprehension. "Greetings, peoples of the galaxy," the human said. Her voice was pleasant, almost conversational. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen, Supreme Commander of the Human Defense Force. I am transmitting this message to announce humanity's new position in galactic affairs." The camera angle widened to show more of the fleet behind her. Hundreds of ships, each larger than anything in the galactic database. But these were not the crude, boxy vessels the aliens had expected. These ships were sleek, elegant, incorporating the best design principles from every known species but improved with uniquely human innovations. "First," Chen continued, "humanity formally rejects the authority of the Galactic Council over human space and activities. We recognize no government above our own sovereignty. Second, we claim protective jurisdiction over all space within 10,000 light-years of our home system. This area is now under human administration." Gasps echoed through the council chamber. 10,000 light-years encompassed half the known galaxy, including most of the major trade routes and several council member worlds. "Third," the human admiral continued, "we invite all sapient species to establish diplomatic relations with humanity under terms of mutual equality and respect. Any species wishing to trade, share knowledge, or simply coexist peacefully will find humans to be reliable neighbors and valuable allies." Her expression hardened slightly. "However, any government or organization that attempts to impose its will upon humanity or human-protected space will be considered an enemy and treated accordingly. We have demonstrated our willingness and ability to defend ourselves. We prefer not to repeat such demonstrations unless necessary." The transmission paused while Chen seemed to consult with someone off camera. When she returned her attention to the broadcast, her tone remained pleasant but carried an undertone that chilled alien blood. "Some of you may wonder how humanity achieved technological parity so quickly after our first contact with galactic civilization. The answer is simple. We did not achieve parity. We achieved superiority." Behind her, the massive fleet began to move. Ship after ship passed by the viewing ports, and the aliens watching began to understand the true scope of what they faced. This was not a defense fleet. This was an invasion force. You see, the galaxy has been at peace for so long that you have forgotten what war actually means. You view military action as a political tool, a brief application of superior technology to achieve limited objectives. Humanity has a different understanding of warfare. Chen gestured toward the fleet behind her. "Every human vessel you see represents not just our technology, but our philosophy. We do not fight wars to achieve political goals. We fight wars to eliminate threats. When humanity goes to war, we mobilize our entire civilization. Every factory, every scientist, every citizen becomes part of the war effort." The scope of human mobilization became clear as the transmission showed footage from across human space. Massive industrial complexes worked around the clock, producing warships at an incredible rate. Civilian populations had relocated to underground cities, freeing up surface infrastructure for military use. Even children were involved, learning to operate defensive systems and maintain equipment. Our analysis of galactic history shows that you have never faced an opponent who approached warfare as a science to be perfected. Your military encounters have been brief conflicts between technological equals or one-sided suppressions of primitive species. You have never fought a species that has spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war against opponents as intelligent and creative as themselves. Chen paused to let this sink in. Humanity has been at war with itself for our entire recorded history. We have developed tactics and strategies through constant conflict with enemies who knew us as well as we knew ourselves. Every human innovation in warfare has been tested against opponents who were equally motivated and equally intelligent. The transmission showed historical footage of human conflicts. Ancient battles with swords and spears, medieval sieges with catapults and arrows, modern warfare with tanks and aircraft, and finally space battles between human factions in their own solar system. Every species in the galaxy developed advanced technology and then stopped fighting wars because they had no worthy opponents, Chen explained. Humanity developed advanced technology while continuing to fight wars because we are worthy opponents. To ourselves and now, apparently, to you. The display changed to show the technical specifications of human vessels. The numbers were staggering. Weapons output levels that exceeded galactic standards by orders of magnitude. Armor that incorporated defensive systems from every known species. Most shocking of all, crew survival systems that allowed humans to function in environments that would kill any other known life form. The ships you see behind me represent the first wave of humanity's true military force. They incorporate the best technology from every galactic species, improved through human engineering and guided by human strategic doctrine. But more importantly, they are crewed by beings who view warfare not as a political necessity, but as a form of artistic expression. Chen's smile was genuinely warm, which somehow made her next words even more terrifying. We have studied your cultures, your technologies, and your military capabilities for over 2 centuries. We know how each species fights, what they value, and how they think. We have prepared specific strategies for every possible opponent and contingency. This knowledge, combined with our natural aptitude for warfare, makes humanity the apex predator of this galaxy. The transmission began to conclude, but Chen had one final message. To those species who choose to coexist with humanity, welcome. We will be generous allies and reliable partners. To those who choose to oppose us, understand this. You are facing a species that has been preparing for this moment for our entire history. We have already won this war. The only question remaining is how many of you will survive to see the peace that follows. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in